I love the novels of Edinburgh detective Inspector John Rebus. Ian Rankin's iconic and perhaps ironic character knows something the rich man in Jesus' parable never learned, that security is an illusion, and the things we think will save us often become our undoing. The rich man in Luke's Gospel believes he has solved his problem. Bigger barns means bigger security. More storage equals more certainty about tomorrow. He can now take life easy. Rebus would recognise this delusion immediately. They thought they had it all figured out, the perfect alibi, the foolproof plan, the untraceable crime. Yet their carefully constructed schemes always unravel, often through the very precautions they thought would protect them. The more elaborate the scheme, the more spectacular they fall. Now, the rich man's barns are like these criminal enterprises, monuments to the belief that we can control our fate through accumulation, whether of grain or money or power. But as Rebus knows from his years of walking Edinburgh's Royal Mile and its darker closes, life has a way of delivering the unexpected knock at the door. Both Jesus' parable and Rankin's novels reveal a fundamental truth that material wealth often impoverishes the soul. The rich man is so focused on his abundance that he becomes utterly self-absorbed. Notice how his internal monologue is filled with I and my crops, I will tear down, I will store. He has become the centre of his own universe. Rebus encounters this spiritual poverty repeatedly in Edinburgh's more affluent circles. The wealthy characters in Rankin's novels, corrupt councillors, dirty property developers, respectable citizens with dark secrets, are the most morally bankrupt. They have everything money can buy but lack the one thing that matters: connection to something greater than themselves. Meanwhile, Rebus himself, despite his modest police pension, his shabby flat, possesses something the rich man lacks, a sense of purpose that extends beyond his own comfort. He fights for justice, not because it pays well, because it doesn't, but because it's right. This very night your life will be demanded from you. God's words to the rich man echo through every Rebus novel like a midnight phone call summoning the detective to another crime scene. Death suddenly, unexpectedly, without regard, comes, for our plans and preparations are worthless. Rankin's Edinburgh is a city where the past refuses to stay buried, where decades-old crimes suddenly surface to destroy carefully constructed lives. Characters who thought they had escaped their past discover their moral debts, like physical ones, eventually come due. The knock on the door can come at any time, sometimes from Rebus himself, sometimes from consequences they thought they had successfully buried. The stories, in essence, are echoes of this rich man's parable by Jesus. The parable's conclusion challenges us to be rich toward God rather than storing up treasures for ourselves. This isn't merely about charitable giving or religious observance. It's about recognizing that true security comes not from what we accumulate, but from our relationship with the eternal. Rebus, who has many flaws, drinking, failed relationships with all people, not just his wife, his cynicism, understands this intuitively. His true wealth lies not in material possessions, but in his unwavering commitment to truth and justice. He is rich in integrity, wealthy in compassion for victims, abundant in his refusal to let the powerful escape accountability for their actions. When Rebus retires, he doesn't mourn the loss of income or status. Instead, he grieves the loss of purpose, of the ability to fight for those who cannot fight for themselves. His real treasure was never his salary, because he still got his knackered Saab. It was his calling, which is why Rankin continuously brings him back from retirement still. The streets of Edinburgh have taught Rebus what Jesus taught in his parable, that our lives are not defined by what we accumulate, but by how we treat others, by our commitment to justice, by our willingness to serve something greater than ourselves. In Rankin's novels, the characters who find peace are not those who have amassed the most wealth or power, but those who have made peace with themselves and their purpose. Like Rebus himself, they have learned to be rich toward what matters. Both Jesus' parable and the Rebus story remind us of the transience of human life and the permanence of human nature. The carved stones of Edinburgh Castle have outlasted countless generations who thought they were building for eternity. The closes that Rebus walks were once home to people who worried about tomorrow's bread, just as we worry about tomorrow's security. What remains is not their possessions, but the impact of their choices on others. The streets of Edinburgh and the fields of Palestine speak the same truth. Our security lies not in our possessions, but in our purpose. Not in what we store up, but in what we give away. Not in serving others, but in serving something beyond ourselves.